Hello, guys. Happy Gemini new moon. Welcome to our Lunar Reflection show. If you don't know who I am, my name is Jake. I'm a Pisces sun, Libra moon or Libra rising. I know my signs, and Aquarius moon. And this Gemini new moon is hitting me. So welcome to the show. Hello, Soul Tribe.
We're also in that Mercury retrograde pre-shadow, so who knows what words are going to be today, y'all. That's going to be great. Hey, my name is Corbin. That's right, we're doing our big three. I'm a Pisces, Cancer, Capricorn. This is atypical, but hey, needle astrologer. I do that though, for sure. And I love digging into charts to help unpack, I don't know, maybe some of the traumas that you're going through or some of the problems in your life and getting an astrological perspective on that. Sometimes it's easier to work in an archetypal realm than it is to deal with our own personal problems. So
sure.
Yeah. I offer readings. So if you want to dig into your shit, we can do that.
Yeah. And that is kind of what this show is about, is digging into the shit and looking at reflecting on your life, our lives, the things going on IRL that are reflecting those lunar and celestial energies, right? What's going on, especially with that moon cycle and us, because it hits us all in one way or another.
Yeah.
Lynn says hello. She's driving and can't type. Hi, Lynn.
So yeah, we have the Gemini new moon, which is coming up tomorrow. Moon should be in Gemini right now. That's usually how we plan these things. And it's at the end of Gemini, 24 degrees, I think. None of that really specifically matters. We're going to talk a lot about Mercury today. Mercury is really fucking jacked up from a condition standpoint. I'm wearing orange, though, to honor Mercury. But as Mercury is in Cancer right now, the emotional side of things might be really difficult and really challenging. At least it is in our home, in our Cancer home. And so, we'll talk about some of the things that are going on with Mercury. Because Mercury is hosting the sun and the moon right now. And so from a traditional standpoint, we really are looking to Mercury and what's going on with Mercury to just really understand what the flavor of this current Gemini season is going to be about. Since everything that's happening inside of Gemini is really under the reins of Mercury's control. So we've had some interesting astrology this week. We had Saturn square Mercury earlier this week. We'll definitely talk about that. We'll talk about a condition called malefic enclosure that Mercury is experiencing right now. It's a Hellenistic technique that I haven't talked about before. And we're going to get into the upcoming Mercury retrograde, the current pre-shadow phase, and some of the flavors of that are already popping up. I know that we're going to have a Mercury retrograde in a water sign. So there's already been a few funnies about using funny words and phrases and nonverbals to communicate, or even just already losing your words. But water signs really struggle with communication in general. That's not a strong suit. So we'll definitely have a few slips today, I'm sure. And let us know how Gemini season's been going for you. Definitely a shift here recently. Have you been experiencing both sides of the coin or of an issue? Have you been riding that mutable energy up and down? Really, really great yesterday, really, really tough today. Have you enjoyed the youth that's coming out in our natural world? I do think of Gemini season in a positive way of all the babies finally leave their nests and their burrows, and we start to see the little ones running around and the excitement that can come from that. Here's some positive Gemini stuff.
The highlight of this morning for me, got to see some baby ducks down at the river. Mama duck brought them out, and there was, I think, 6 or 7 of them. It was hard to count. They were very lumped together and falling all over each other, but just the tiniest little things. They were the tiniest little ducks. So that was very cute. Was grateful for that moment. Because can't all be like the most bright and fun and exciting things. Mercury retrograde
Oh,
can sometimes
wow.
toss some
There you
curveballs
go.
our way. And sounds like Watkins Cat House is feeling it. Water heater broke yesterday. Day it went into shadow.
Yeah.
Oof. Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely thinking about the influence of Saturn there too. Saturn reflecting the structures of the utilities inside of our home and the piping and all the stuff that goes along with that. That's all very Saturnian. And so having water problems inside of the structures of your home is definitely the flavor of that square from Saturn in Aries to Mercury in Cancer. So good stuff. Nice reflections.
Yeah.
Let us know in the chat. We're clearly upset, but you let us know what's going on with you. Maybe
Is it tough for you?
Well, no, not everyone. I mean, that's the reality of all of it. I think Jody said she saw a fairy, so that's wonderful and amazing. The thinning of the veils, the opening to the alternate realities, the seeing dimensions beyond what we have right now. I mean, that's all part of it. And that's all part of everything that's going on too. One of the first things that we wanted to like get into in like a fun, high vibey kind of way is connecting with some of the pop culture that's going on right now. We've just been giggling in this household for quite some time over the blockbuster films that were released this just yesterday. And I think in the last show we talked about like, oh, lots of people use astrology to help figure out, the best kinds of dates to do certain kinds of things. And the release of Disclosure Day definitely is like somebody, good job to whoever that astrologer was who timed that one out for sure.
I mean, I feel like there was probably some planning on multiple levels with multiple systems, but yeah, definitely an interesting moment for it. And I keep thinking about Independence Day as well, like another big like blockbuster alien film.
Oh, we should have pulled the chart for that.
That could have been interesting. Yeah.
But
Yeah, this film, I mean, I feel like a lot of people are talking about it both in a mainstream sense and also in the spiritual world. I mean, I just saw Gaia TV did a little like round of the staff interview of like, what are your thoughts on Disclosure Day? And it's interesting because I mean, there's a whole lot of different opinions on it, and I have not seen the film myself yet. I've listened to a few people talking about their impressions of it, but more than that, I've been hearing from individuals like their own personal disclosures, their own moments of seeing ships, seeing craft, having meditation experiences, having dream experiences, connecting in. And so while we might have like this very like public sort of opportunity to switch perspectives, because that's what a lot of people are talking about, is like this opportunity for like normal folk, people who are not maybe right now open to aliens, but are like open to seeing a movie, going to see this film and having it open their eyes to what's really going on. And so I don't know if it will have that big cultural impact that people are talking about, or if it will really like move the tide in that sense. Part of me says like, no, we need more of that personal disclosure first, because I think there are still so many people stuck in that paradigm of like, alien takeover, these invaders from beyond coming in. And like, is that really what ultimately is going to happen? I don't believe so. I'm really of the mind that if like these aliens with powerful tech really wanted to like invade and take over, they would have already, and in some timelines they already have. So it's like, what's the perspective here? Anyway, I'm rambling now. You want to talk about some of the astrology of this film or of this moment in relation to the ETs?
Sure, if you want to pull up the chart.
Yeah.
And we talked about this a little bit previously. There's a lot going on, especially with the outer planets right now, that are leading into essentially a new era. I read that quote from Andre Barbeau a couple weeks ago that talked about the trines and the sextiles of the outer planets right now really being a time for restarting civilization and coming into like a new era. We've been talking about that so much in the sense of how all the planets have shifted from water, the outer planets have shifted from water and earth signs to fire and air signs. And more we'll be talking about the trine that is forming between Pluto and Aquarius and Uranus and Gemini. And I think, talk about information inside of the air signs. This is just really kind of like a key aspect here. But definitely where I want to take this conversation and start bringing it into the chart and the moment of right now is the resonance of Cancer inside of all of this. And I actually quickly looked at that horoscope for Independence Day. The release date of that one was in July of 1996. And there were a few things in very similar positions right now as they were back then. We had Saturn inside of Aries both times around. We had Mercury inside of Cancer both times around. And actually the sun was in Cancer as well that time too. Well, there's been a lot of conversation recently about what are we healing? What are we healing collectively? When I look at this moon, when I look at our current moon cycle, the moon really doesn't make a lot of aspects to many of the planets. The moon in some ways is a little bit on its own for a short period of time here. However, there is a growing sextile between the moon and Chiron. And we've been talking extensively about how we've been healing self-identity, about who we are. I think all of this really gets emphasized in a greater sense when we think about the current position of Mercury inside of Cancer. And I wanted to bring up an ancient thing to kind of talk about Cancer and our existence and who we are from an astrological perspective. So in ancient astrology, there's a teaching tool. It's literally the birth chart of the universe. It's a very symbolic tool. We call it the Thema Mundi. And Jake, you can go and switch over to that one. And what's really interesting about this chart, this has been passed down for thousands of years, whether written on stone or tablet or on the wall of a temple or something like that. And again, this is a birth tool, a birth chart of the universe. This is a supposed conceptualization of when this all came into being. It comes from the ancient Babylonians or the Egyptians or something like that. We use this in astrology to understand a whole bunch of things, whether it be, planetary rulership. If you look closely, you can see that all the planets that are on the screen right now are actually in their places of rulership, right? The moon's in Cancer, the sun's in Leo, Mercury's in Virgo. We can also use this tool here to understand, so we can understand who works well from this sort of perspective, but we can also understand aspect theory, because you can see that Mars is on a square to the sun, or that Saturn's on opposition to the moon. And these are sort of qualities that characterize these sorts of aspects. Well, anyways, I've always thought that this chart was kind of different and interesting because of Cancer on the ascendant. You see, I grew up in a world where we were told that everything was dog eat dog. I grew up in a world where we were told that we had to work hard, that we had to grind, that we had to fight to get what we wanted. I grew up in a world that was full of wars over resources, fighting over abundance, fighting over things. Well, if we think about the universe as Cancer rather than Aries, if we were to put Aries on the first, right? If we think about Cancer instead, though, the universe is loving, the universe is caring, the universe is supportive, the universe is here to nurture you, to take care of you, kind of like a mom, kind of like, a warm blanket or something like that. It was when I got deeper into studying astrology and that I learned this, that I realized, aha, here's the truth of the universe. It is loving, it is caring, it is nurturing. We don't really have to fight so hard. And this can be part of what we are healing right now at this time. This can speak to questions of who are we? Where did we come from? When we wax over the idea of Cancer, we're really thinking about who are we in existence and how did we get here? In astrology, this is called the gateway of mankind. It reflects an aspect of where our souls come into our body from a galactic or from a cosmic sense. The ancients believed that our souls used to traverse through the cosmos, through the constellation of Cancer, through our sun, and then into our bodies. there's something very magical and mystical here. And there's something about all of the astrology wrapped into this moment with the extreme emphasis on Cancer that shows the deeper learning and the deeper truths that are going on right now. And so this isn't just about taking care of yourself. This isn't just about supporting a friend or something like that. This really gets down to, who are we as souls? How did we get here? What is the truth of it all? It's a lot bigger than, in my mind, it's a lot bigger. So yeah, I don't know. That was an idea yesterday. I'm not sure about today, but that's an idea.
Well, I know personally, and many people that I talk to in my life are going through similar energies of, or like questions of care for self, of nurturing self, of all of those Cancerian themes. So I think there's probably something to that. Let us know in the chat if you are dealing with any of those sorts of themes or energies, or how that's showing up for you. And it doesn't always have to be tough or hard. Like you said, it can be the positive expression of it. So yeah. Before we move on, oh no, not that. There we go.
As we continue to unpack Cancer, Mercury, and other things, a reminder that something new is coming up later this week. We've been talking about this Cancerian energy a lot in our household, Cancer being your shell, or, reflective of that environment around you. And so much of the astrology and so much of the season is asking us to break out of that shell. And I've really been wanting to break out with more astrology. So we have something new and exciting coming for you this week. Jake's been doing new things with breaking out of his shell too. He's been doing all these fun tarot energy reading shows. And so we're combining the tarot energy reads with the astrology, and we're going to go all the way around the wheel later this week, Thursday, and we're going to unpack Jupiter's ingress into Leo. It's a really exciting transit that's coming up. It's something hopeful and optimistic and filled with joy that we can look forward to. It's really going to provide a sweet spot for the next coming year. And that starts at the end of June. That astrology starts at the end of June. We'll be doing our show later this week on Thursday. And stay tuned, because we're going to go sign by sign, house by house, and unpack what this might mean for everybody. Jake will do a little card pull. I'll do a little astrology. It'll be great. It'll be really fun.
Yeah, it will be a good time. And definitely, Jupiter is one of the benefics, right? It's a nice planet to work with, and definitely can bring in a lot of blessings if you do. So it's gonna be a fun show. I love this. Jody pulled the Nurture Yourself Galactic card yesterday. Very much getting that same message of nurturing Cancer. I love it.
Well, and it's great to think about that. Yeah. So one of the other Cancerian themes that have been coming up, I knew with Mercury and Saturn earlier this week with that square that we were going to start to see some of the pre-shadow themes coming up. Since Mercury is starting to enter that area, we'll go retrograde later this month. I think the degrees are 26 to 16. So we're definitely in range of that right now. The square with Saturn was slightly before that window, but really is stirring it all up again. And boy, oh boy, it was a very tough emotional week that I was big emotions, right? We have Jupiter and Cancer too, really amplifying that emotion. Jupiter is going to make bigger whatever it touches. And there was a clinging to the past this last week. There was a need to grab that security blanket. There was almost like a wanting to return to the past, or to when times were a little bit more simple. And I saw this in quite a few places. It, the crab itself can grasp and claw and hold on to and clutch. And so that's kind of why we're using this phrase, clinging, and again, Cancer is always concerned about their own personal safety, that sort of notion. So that's really where, like, the new day, there's something that's a little too scary about what's around the corner, that could be stopping you or preventing you from moving forward on your mission, especially in the sense of, like, how am I breaking out into what's new for me or what's right for me? There is a little bit of, like, a need to maybe even go back and experience one more time how it used to be, or to put the training wheels on one more time before kind of heading forward. And just with where Mercury is right now and everything that's happening, like, hello, your Mercury retrograde story. If you find yourself clinging to the past right now, you will need to be coming back to this moment and rewriting a little bit of that. And understand that all of the outer planets are yearning for you to have new and different experiences, but it is very much this personal integration level that we are working on right now. You see, Jupiter went retrograde in this area in Cancer last year around the holiday season. In fact, it almost took the same retrograde path. Jupiter went retrograde from 25 to 15. I remember 15 because 15 is my moon, and I won't forget that. I think it was 25 to 15. And Mercury's 26 to 16. I could be mixing these up a little bit, but whatever. It's very, very close. And so last fall, there was a little bit of, nice, Ken, I love that. Last fall, there was a little bit of, Jupiter reflects this higher mind aspect, right? This cosmic wisdom, this divine blueprint. But Mercury is much more step A, step B, step C, or 1, 2, 3. Mercury is a lot more on that finesse detail. And there's a process that we're going through right now, whereas there was this Jupiterian, or this bigger, grander message, insight, wisdom that was shown to you last year. But now it's about integrating that and living that out in a more daily way. And as we talk about Gemini at the end of the day here, and Mercury, you're going to see this reflected in the words that you use every single day, the word choice that you use every single day, because now it is this element of bottom-up creation, right? The words that I choose reflect the beliefs that I have, which are a part of the paradigm of the system that I'm inside of. Well, we already have the wisdom of the new systems that we want to be in. We already have the vision of where we're going and what that future is going to be. But right now, with this with this Gemini new moon, it's about the word choice. The words are the ripples on the top of the surface of the water that reflect the environment that's underneath. And so, are there rocks? Are there fish? Are there whatever? But the words help you to get to that deeper thing. And it's about bridging that disconnect, because the words that we're using in some ways, especially if you're clinging to the past, reflect a mindset that hasn't fully shifted. I'm still working through kind of understanding all of this right now, because it's my own personal crap too. But that's a little bit of the wisdom that I have as I'm mulling through my own darkness. But there's a personal integration to happen here. Jupiter's further out in the system. Mercury's a little bit closer, to call it more personal. And it's really, though, there is a season now inside of the summer about that finer tuned mechanic. At the same time, a rock and a hard place. Mercury's in really tough condition right now. So in Hellenistic astrology, we use fewer aspects than in modern. We don't have like a quincunx or something like that. There's just, the 7 rays. And I really tend to think that the opposition and the square is really just about all you need to work with. And conjunctions, trines are great. Sextiles can mean things, but they're less loud. But the testimony that is given through aspects, right? This is how planets talk to each other. This is how the conversation is really formed about what's going on. It's never one isolated thing. We always need to be looking at the entire conversation that's happening in the sky. Well, Mercury has very difficult testimony being provided to it at this time from the other planets. Mercury just left that square from Saturn. So on one side of Mercury, you're getting cold, hard Saturn. And what is Mercury moving towards right now? Mercury's moving towards an aspect with Mars on the other side. So this is why it's now a rock and a hard place, because you got cold, hard Saturn on one side of Mercury, and then you got difficult to deal with poking, prodding, stabbing Mars on the other side. And we call this malefic enclosure. And so it might feel like either way that you pivot, it's a difficult answer. Or it might feel like inside of any sort of mercurial realm, whether that be money, finances, figuring out your next step. Mercury can relate to physical movement, could mean your arms, your appendages, your hands. You could be having difficulties on so many levels right now. And Mercury doesn't only control Gemini, it also controls the Virgo part of your chart too. So this could be showing up in another aspect where you just might feel a little trapped. And that is absolutely what's going on. It could be Mercury showing up with your siblings or roommates or those that friends that you're having, where turning this way isn't exactly what you wanted, and turning that way is also difficult too. Remember about the turning inside, though. Remember about tending to the waters inside. Because Mercury's inside of Cancer. How are we healing? How are we taking care of? How are we nurturing? And you might find yourself trapped between a rock and a hard place, and going inside might be the only answer at this time. It might be more effective than talking about it. Because again, Mercury inside of a water sign might struggle with the words. You would do better singing about it. You would do better dancing or drawing or expressing in some other nonverbal kind of a way. I mean, I have a Cancer moon, and trust me, Cancer likes to avoid the thing. The crab moves around, right? The crab circles the train. The crab doesn't scuttle towards the thing, for Christ's sake. But as you flow and as you move, you might find your way. I don't know, just another thing. And I'm clearly emotional, so thanks for listening. Jake?
Yeah, definitely an interesting energy.
That's an interesting comment. I mean, you could spin your meat like a helicopter. Honestly, like, that's a sense of expression right now. And you don't really need to delete that. I don't mind.
They've been going at it.
Oh, have they?
They have, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, between a rock and a hard place, I've been feeling that toughness, that pressure, the pull of the old, the desire and like the vision of the new. And I feel like I am a Pisces sun, and I also have air in my chart, but I don't feel like it's necessarily like super positive communication air. I struggle with the communication. And so in these tough moments, like I'm realizing more and more that idea that like the words don't always help. The words aren't always accurate. The words aren't always the truth.
Sorry, I'm just thinking back to the dude and his dick. Yeah, man, you don't use the words. Go express yourself through that movement. Like they were onto something. They understood it on a particular level.
Sure. I guess. Trying to see. Oh, so funny.
Shoot.
Yeah, absolutely. And the music, I feel like music speaks to us in ways that words can't, because as we were talking about the other day, you know, the vocalizations hit a frequency, you know, and our words might, but we often we find more range when we're singing. I feel like many people have a tighter range when they're speaking and open up a little bit when they're singing.
For me, as a very emotional being, the music will find the words for the things that I cannot say, right? It brings me to a place where I'm maybe not able to fully go on my own. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's triggering in the most positive ways, to like create that sacred space for that release, and you can turn off that song and then move on, you know. That's how I think about it.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, finding the ways that work for you, the outlets or the expressions that work for you. I definitely know that music is tough for me sometimes, and I've definitely like closed myself off to certain like emotional musics in my days. I mean, if you talk to my friends from like my 20s up until, I mean, semi recently, and also probably recently too, I only listen to like high energy music. I only listen to high tempo, and at first I thought it was just me and just my quirk, and it is kind of just me, but it also is an avoidance, because the music can trigger the emotions, and I don't always like to go there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So the rock and the hard place, we haven't done any stories today. This has been very abstract.
People are bringing their stories though.
Oh, good. I struggle to see on the screens.
Oh, it's fine.
You know,
I mean, I can get more specific.
No, I
with
kind of have a thing. I have a friend who's shared with me about like a work situation that they've had going on recently, and they're at their work, they've been trying a new thing this year. And so many of us have our new thing, our new hobby, our new passion, our new reality, whatever the new is this year. We all have it in our own individual ways. Come talk to me, bring your natal chart. We'll unpack it for you if you're unaware of what it is. This person really has it in their work sector. And they were enacting upon a new strategy at work. They were trying something differently. They were looking at their budgets in a new way. We'll talk about, or we'll kind of contextualize it like that. And it became time to review how that was going after the first few months. And it wasn't as shiny as it was going to be, or as profitable as it was going to be, or as like great for the business after 3 months. So here's that rock in the hard place, right? Keep moving forward with something that might be challenging, that might be slow growing, but might be the better thing, or turn back to the comfort of my old reality that's a little bit more safe. And so that's how I kind of heard, do I keep moving forward with this thing that I believe in, that they believe is part of their future, that they believe is part of their new change, or do they turn back to safety? So I guess there's that example that I heard about the rock in the hard place, and also the turning back, you know, the need of Cancer to reach for comfort. And really right now, to go back in, it's like, I've said it a few times, hold the hand firm on your back as you move forward. It's like, that's where the support needs to be right now, is from behind to push forward into the new and to help with the challenges that are coming there. So, story.
But yeah, I mean, that's what I'm experiencing with my work. You know, new opportunities coming in, new realms to explore, and there's definitely some fear around that there's some like, well, can I do that? Can I do that new thing? Can I step into that? And I think the supporting yourself through it and encouraging yourself and reminding yourself of those the things that you have accomplished, the growth that you have had, the steps that you have taken.
Well, even more so importantly, letting go of the past is something that I've been thinking about, you know, as I think about your work stuff or the friend that I was talking about, this new era, this new period, we've only been in this home for a few weeks, a few months, right? People's newer realities are still very new, but yet we might carry those older paradigms, those older beliefs that we were talking about earlier, even the older words that you might have used. And it really needs to be a period here of allowing enough new space for that new thing to grow and not cutting it too soon.
Giving it time to grow.
Anyways, fun stuff. Venus, Jupiter this week. Who had good emotions this week? Because I think I talked about this as an ice cream sundae with 2 scoops or with the cherry on top.
Mm-hmm.
I surely know that a lot of astrologers said best astrology of the, and it's there was some really high highs this past week. So please bring your stories on the positive emotional things that you were going through. I know that Jake and I, we had our wedding anniversary this week, and by golly, it was on the Venus Jupiter conjunction. We planned that when we got married 3 years ago, that 3 years later we were gonna, no, we didn't time it that extensively.
Maybe our higher selves did, but
yeah, on one level we did. So let me know if you want me to time your wedding, or your 5-year anniversary or something like that. But that really was a light spot and a bright spot inside of our week. Digging more into Cancer, we got to relive a whole bunch of our favorite memories from the past and to look back in a really fond way. We grabbed dinner from one of our old favorite restaurants. That's a very Cancerian thing, your old favorite place or that place that you used to go, your old haunt. That's so Cancerian. That might be part of the healing medicine of right now too, that's going on at this time, would be positive ways of going back and reflecting on
Watkins Cat House, their anniversary is June 8th. How
Love
cute.
it.
I love that.
It's
a good time of year.
Anniversary.
Yeah, happy anniversary to you. Also wanted to, before we move too past the gentle hand on the back, Jody seeing her guide, helping her, supporting her in that way, helping release the fear.
Going back to the Mercury Saturn kind of thing, the aspect, if you physically think about where that is in the sky, would be behind Mercury. Saturn would be behind Mercury, giving a firm, steady hand and a push forward, a push forward into Mars. But we'll have another guide to help us with that too.
The image that I'm seeing is your dad holding you in place while you're t-balling or something, or you're playing baseball and that ball's coming at you and you're scared, but your dad's you're not moving. No, you got this. Holding you firmly in place while you get over that fear of hitting the ball, for what that's worth.
Anyways, Tuesday was full of a lot of treats and a lot of snacks, and a lot of...
We talked about the ups and the downs of this week and the high highs and the low lows, and I think that has been some of the wonkiness of it. It's felt like a month. The past week has felt like a month because there are these really, really high highs where, Corbin and I have had a few moments where we've just curled over, peeled over laughing. You're just having such a good time and so much laughter, so much joy. And then, another day, so angry, you kick the fridge. There's just these ups and downs, and the emotions, I feel are just pushing you back and forth.
And people always rag on Gemini, right? For the duplicity or the consistently inconsistent. That's how I put it with most mutable signs. But it really is the energy of a third of us. A third of us really have good days and bad days and ups and downs. And that's part of life, back to Cancer being a reflection of the nature of our reality. Think about the face of the moon. She changes every day. The moon comes up at a different time every day. No 2 days are exactly the same. The nature of our reality is ever changing. But sometimes, especially in the constructs of this world, consistency. The modern world really doesn't give you like 3 days off in a row and then 3 days on. And so working with this mutable energy, working with the ups and downs can be particularly challenging because of the programming that we have inside of Western culture. Wasn't planning on talking about that. We had lots of ice cream on Tuesday. That's what I was planning on talking about.
Yeah, we did have ice cream on Tuesday.
We had pizza and cookies and ice cream. We had far too many treats.
Yeah, I feel like at one point you turned to me and you said, "Did Venus get all her treats?"
Yeah.
And I said, "Yes, she did, and she's happy about it." I mean, there's definitely the imbalance of that where you give yourself every treat every day, and then there's a problem with that. But once in a while, you can give yourself all the treats. Mm-hmm. It's about recognizing that balance. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you want to jump in here?
Sure. Yeah. Whatever. We'll just keep going with it.
Sure.
We did almost no prep for today's show, so we're just going. I looked at the Sabian symbol a couple weeks ago. I'm starting to get ready for these shows immediately after we finish the previous one. And I read the Sabian symbol for 25, a reminder you round up. And yeah,
enjoy your donuts, Jody. Enjoy your donuts.
I love that, Jody. And the Sabian symbol for this one, I don't have the actual language in front of me, but it was something about like a man trimming a palm tree, like manicuring the palm fronds. And when I first read that, I was like, oh no, fuck that. I'm not talking about that. Like, I am not going to come out here and say like, dim down your light, or like, be all the way authentic, but like manicure this, like go take care of that. Like, no, there was something about that really didn't resonate at the beginning, because it felt like this idea of like curtailing authenticity, or like, dimming the light. Go, you have a finger.
Well, because this will make sense. So as we've been in this new house, we've been gardening more. I've been talking about gardening more. The algorithms know that I am interested in gardening. And so Instagram is serving me all these gardening profiles. There's this one woman in Chicago. She's a garden coach, which I love that for her. She's a garden coach. She goes out there and coaches people on their gardens. It's great. Anyway, she was doing a video about pruning, and she's talking about pruning your lilacs so that your lilacs have the thickest, healthiest, longest lasting blooms. And that if you trim out and keep a manicured bush of your lilac, that the growth will be more evenly distributed into those blooms, and that you'll have a prettier plant. You'll have a more thick, filled out plant. That it's through cutting away, and it's not just dead things. She was talking about cutting off the thickest, biggest, oldest, and that it was through cutting away those big old ones that were taking a whole lot of juice to keep going, that it was then able to push into the new growth and grow those new branches that have the new blooms on them, and that next year things are going to come back better, healthier, more sustainable, and more pretty, and more scented, because she said, oh, people complain all the time to me about their lilacs not producing very many blooms, and so it's there we go. And we have real life proof. Beth said it worked for her. So doing that last year, and the lilac exploded. Yeah. Well, and it's interesting because we just moved into this house with these lilacs that are 2 stories tall, and they didn't really produce all that many blooms, but that's because there's so much trunk, right? There's so much of the plant that needs that energy isn't concentrated where it might shine the best, if that makes sense.
And that's where I like that, Jake, because that's where like here's the lane and perspective to be thinking about this. I came back to this one and I confused palm with peacock, and all of a sudden I thought we were grooming a peacock. Again, you know, for me, this is really infringing upon my own ways that I shine, right?
Where's our friend from earlier?
Yeah. And there's something here for sure about that new you, you know, and to do the bigger reflection on what's been dying and what's been growing. It's about taking care of the new growth. That's what Jake is talking about as well. And from this perspective, again, of a clean, fresh slate, like you're completely restarted, brand new season, new you, none of the traumas from before. And how are you taking care of that new you? You know, Ceres, we talked about recently too, right? She's in Gemini right now. That's part of the significations of this new moon, is how am I caring for, nurturing for myself, and nurturing for either that palm frond or that peacock, you know, and snipping some of the dead things to help it. And so it just made me really think, like, this time around for the new moon, if you don't do the affirmations, you should really try the affirmations though. If you don't do the intention setting, you should really try the intention setting though. Because we really need to be bridging the mental physical gap here. And so like one of the things that I was thinking about was taking the mental and bringing it into the physical. I've really gotten into, through a little bit of energy healing that I've been doing for myself, I've really gotten into all of the tapping. I love the tapping. So doing tapping and affirmations could be really helpful at this time. Doing exercise and bringing mantras into that. I've talked about this before, but like when I do a lot of rowing, like on a stationary rower, and I will talk to my feet, to my calves, to my thighs, to my, you know, core. I talk to my core a lot. And like bring that into that intentionality, into the mental intentionality, into the physical that you're doing. But there's really something right now about how we are taking care of ourselves, and just going back to the Mercury and the words that we're using, but then really up leveling this idea and bringing words into action. I think that was like really the idea that I wanted to communicate here. There's so much of a potent medicine inside of that right now. And it's a really great early tool to be thinking about for the Mercury retrograde while we're still like really, really early on in it. Your soul is craving new experiences. It's ready for change. Your ego might hold you back with negative words and thoughts. Meet the universe halfway and start manifesting. Make it part of the daily nurturing of yourself and the maintenance of you. Sure, whatever.
Well, you know, I remember when we were planning this show, and we were thinking about this concept of like metamorphosis being complete, or like being at that point of
that was a fun title.
It was, wasn't it? And I feel like at least for me, I feel like I'm having that moment where my ego is telling me that I haven't changed, that I haven't done, you know, whatever XYZ, that I'm not this butterfly, that I'm still that caterpillar. And I feel like part of this moment is, like you said, taking those physical steps, but saying the words to yourself, right? Gemini is the words. Gemini is the communication. Saying those words to yourself of not the I'm not that anymore. Saying I am this now, or like switching the narrative, switching the focus. One of the things that we talk a lot about in like the hypnotherapy world is, you know, the subconscious doesn't really understand negatives in the way that our conscious mind does. And so when you say, I'm not that caterpillar anymore, at a certain level, you're telling yourself that you are that caterpillar, because that negative doesn't stick in the same way in that deeper part of you. And so, you know, when you're trying to reprogram something, when you're trying to shift something, saying saying the positive, saying I am the butterfly, I am, transformed, I am XYZ. And, if you're like me, it's really hard to do that because it feels disingenuous. It feels like you're lying to yourself because there is still that ego emotional feeling that is what you're trying to break, what you're trying to move past, but you have to, it's that whole like fake it till you make it. And I'm really bad at this, guys. Like, when we're talking about all this stuff, I'm coming here like right there with you. If you're struggling with this, if you have a hard time sometimes really like believing that newness, or believing that you have the power to be something different, it can be hard. And those programs, the traumas, the loops are hard. And I think what I'm learning, and what I imagine some of you are also learning, is like how to be loving to yourself in that process, like being loving and kind to yourself regardless of where you're at in that moment, but using that love to get back on, to choose that next moment to like do the thing. And I don't have all the answers, but I definitely have some of the awareness, which they say is right the first step. So hopefully some of this resonates for you guys. Not on the comments here.
I just go ahead.
Oh, and yeah, Lynn saying, I've been working so hard on rewording things to be more positive. It's hard. Yeah. It's so hard. It's so hard. And our ego can be very, very loud. And
it's such a beautiful step to be working on, though, because in so many ways, especially for us who are on this mission, who are consciously working at it, there is that larger perspective that we have shifted in a way. But if that word choice still reflects the old, there's the disconnect, there's the bridge that isn't actually gapping. And like I said earlier, the words are the ripples on the surface that indicate what's deeper underneath. And so maybe there is a bigger belief that still needs some reworking. But yeah, and it's another way of realizing like, oh crap, I didn't like fully I didn't fully present this in the way that I actually believed. I might just be saying the old things that I used to say, not what I actually believe now.
Yeah. Well, and I know for me, some of the motivate, it's oftentimes in the motivation of why am I doing something? And, I've been realizing that's the actions that I'm taking, while they might be new, while they might be taking new action, the motivation is the old motivation of shame, of guilt, of,
but we talked about this stuff, right? Shame, guilt, these things that we project on ourselves, these lies that we tell ourselves essentially, are very complicated and very artificial. And back to Cancer, you feel that in your body. You feel it in so many different ways, emotionally, physically. And it's really about rejecting that artificial template that's being put on and stepping back into the simplicity and the truth of love, of oneness, of now, of this moment, and that's easy. That's simple, there's something to understand here about how difficult we make it for ourselves through the obfuscation, through the lying, through the ego, because like the ego tells you very, very complicated things. And so if you find yourself in this very like, I'm not wording this well, but
I just wanted to address a couple of things here. So words are powerful. It's hard to always be positive. And yeah, I think that's very true. And I don't think it's about, because right, the always positive vibes can definitely be very like spiritual bypassing. It can very much be that like poisonous, shove it down and don't acknowledge it. And what I'm realizing is that silence like isn't always like actual productive like alone time, or like, you know, you can be alone and not process your stuff. You can be alone and not be like truthful with yourself. You can also be with other people and have that disconnect too. And I feel like it's about respecting where you're at, acknowledging where you're at, but then like asking like, where is this coming from? Because I've realized a lot of like the negativity isn't actually how I feel. It's that old program that's coming in, and it's that old paradigm reaction that's just like that easy road path, and you take that because it's easy, because that's the pattern, because, you know, and so I feel like it's about recognizing that distinction and like what is happening under the surface. What are those ripples, you know, indicating? And if they're indicating, you know, that old pattern, well, then what are you focusing on? How are you shifting? How are you getting support as well? Because I think a lot of us, you know, guilty, like you think that you have to do it alone, that you have to like muscle your way through it. You have to figure it out on your own. Even if you know on some level that you shouldn't, or that you need that support, that it is about, you know, being humble when you need to be. There's still some of that programming of our society, of our culture, of the ways that we're taught to shut it down or to keep it to ourselves. And then that usually leads to negative sharing. You know, you explode, or you share the wrong thing, or that resentment grows, that irritation grows, and that, you know, it leaks out in like a less productive way. And so, yeah, I feel like the awareness is where it starts, the self-reflection, getting the support you need. I don't know. Now I'm rambling. Jody had a question though about balancing words and balancing the body. That's what Jody's focusing on right now. And
absolutely,
yeah.
I mean, I think in our fight in the last 24 hours, I yelled, think of what you're doing to your physical body with these words that are reflecting these attitudes and these beliefs. And so, you know, your body might hold on to those words, and then you might have to work on releasing that later. So, yes.
Yeah.
And it just don't stop. It just doesn't stop. You know, we didn't even get through most of the astrology here. The next thing was that like Venus is in an opposition with Pluto, and the next layer is already presenting itself, the next layer of the onion for healing and taking care of. So like some of this Cancer stuff, the timer is about to ding saying that it's done, because there's a whole new aspect of you that's going to require attention very shortly here, you know. So Venus is stepping into Leo, and very shortly it will be Jupiter, and after that it will be the Sun, and all of these planets will make oppositions with Pluto, and it's really going to start to bring a new part of the conversation online here, which really is about, am I following my heart? Am I showing up and shining bright how I'm supposed to be? And what do I need to be doing to be reclaiming my power from all the places that I've maybe previously given it? And so spending the next 2 weeks continuing to focus on this very deep Cancerian healing that we've all been working on since like last summer, really needed at this time. There's a good 2 weeks here where you can get a lot done here, because the universe is just going to keep giving us more to be working on. And so we will start to see this coming up. Venus is a softer energy. She's going to incorporate some of these things into our awareness through the ways in which we're interacting with those closest to ourselves. but there'll be a lot more coming after that. So I don't know. We're kind of at the end. Reflections. We talked a lot about Cancer. We talked a lot about Cancer today, and the healing journeys that we've all been on, whether it's loving and nurturing ourselves, being open to receive, whether it's, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
words that we say to ourselves.
And I feel like that probably says that this story will continue to unfold into Cancer season, because we will just have more Cancerian activations, right? And moments and energies. So, yeah, I think this moment is an interesting one, as they all are. I feel like each moon, each moment, there's something to dig into, something that I know we're feeling. So I'd imagine that y'all are feeling it too.
I just want to say though, like, I'm just so ready to step out of the negative emotion. Do you realize what we created this week? Like, do you remember that flow of inspiration?
Yeah.
And like how much time we spent doing like work that just fucking like blew the socks off our pants, you know? And like, I just don't have the space for the negative emotion anymore. And I'm not trying to be like meh about this, but like, I don't need that in my energy field. I just don't. There's beautiful, really exciting things happening around all of us right now. I've heard from so many of you individual things that are like activated and popping off and going forward into your life. And like a reminder that like you can do the shadow work or the reflection in like 10 minutes writing in your journal. I love you, Beth. I see that, you know. You can do the deep work from 5 minutes of meditation and then get back into your new fucking thing. Some of the like back to like the idea with Mercury and Cancer, it's just it can be you could get caught in the cesspool of the emotion. And that might be part of the learning of the upcoming Mercury retrograde is like quickly transmuting and working through that energy and moving forward again. Because Cancer is a cardinal energy. Cancer does want to keep you focused and on mission and moving forward. And the Cancerian energy is how do I like quickly maintain that emotion to keep moving forward. Remember, it's the energy of the moon. So it's always changing and it's always maintaining and it's always maintenance, but it should not be days upon end of maintenance or endless hours. Your healing does have a finite amount of time associated to it. Like, and that's not a mean message. That's saying like you got better things to do and recognize when you are healed and move and just move. I would much rather be reflecting on all the really cool things that we did this week because like I want to say to all y'all, we had the most, you know, when people talk about like Uranus and Gemini and like new things coming in and different ideas and creativity and a flow of inspiration, Jake and I found ourselves creatively working this week in a new way that we just have never done before. And on a project that is entirely unrelated to all of this. And like we said, we laughed and cried out of joy. And there is so much positivity to be welcoming in and to be growing and nurturing. And if we are spending all of the time in the past, we won't have the time to be growing and nurturing the new thing. And so put on the song, cry, turn off the song, and get going. Like that's, and if you have to go to the song a couple of hours later, I said this a couple of weeks ago, you know, I'm running down to the river a couple times a day just to like keep the vibes up. But the maintenance doesn't have to happen. It can be short for very, very long periods of time. It can be shorter. It can be temporary. Okay, cool. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Yeah. Yeah. Happy Gemini new moon. Let us know what you're going through and what resonated from today for you. Love y'all. See you soon.